Welcome to Drummer Mamas, Ollie.
Hello, I'm officially a drummer mama for the next however long you've got me for.
Yay!
Drummer Papa.
Yeah, drummer papa, I like that.
Okay, we're going to start off with turning the tables on you because usually you interview drummers.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us three things about yourself that we might not know?
Okay, that's that. I can do that. I have really severe dyslexia. I went to Jeff Beck's wedding when I was younger, and Paul McCartney arrived by helicopter. It was the flashiest thing ever. Rick Mayall bought me a drink, then wrote all over my t-shirt, "I am Rick Mayall's boyfriend," which was hilarious. Number three, um, I need to lose some weight, so that's where that's where I'm going to go with number three.
Can we just go back to number two, please? Why were you at the wedding? What's the connection?
Okay, so in the 70s, my grandfather owned a pub in Tunbridge Wells and it was out of the way. So a lot of people used to go there to avoid press. So Rainbow drank there, Led Zeppelin drank there, and my dad used to work behind the bar like as a teenager. My dad then befriended Jeff Beck. So that's why when Jeff died, I had quite a lot of TV appearances. So yeah, me and Jeff became sort of fairly close. Like I went to his house quite a few times, and he then ended up living next door to my aunt. So I mean, I say next door, he's got this like massive house with loads of land around it, but my aunt and uncle are working farmers, so they've got like the farm next door. But my uncle used to, because Jeff was like an animal lover, so he used to ask my uncle, who's a farmer, to go round there and just like trim all these sheep because he just had like sheep like roaming round his house, which was incredible because obviously he was a very very strict vegetarian, Jeff, and he loved animals. Um, so yeah, so I did ask him if Nigel Tufnell was based on him on several occasions, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know about all that." And yeah, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, when we were walking into his wedding, my aunt, she went, "Look, just don't take any pictures with people. Don't be all over people. Oh my God, it's Paul McCartney." So that's literally what happened.
That is amazing. You delivered there, totally on those.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about your family at home? What's the setup?
Um, like for me personally, I have got two children, and they're just my world. They are 5 and 7 years old, and yeah, they're amazing. The best thing I've ever done is have kids. I know it sounds super cheesy, but apart from like interviewing all these cool people and playing drums and all this stuff, like it's it's the hardest job, but it's the most rewarding job, which I think a lot of us can probably connect with. But the days are long but the years are short. My background is that like my mum and dad were in a deeply unsuccessful band together, and so I grew up knowing that like struggle that musicians have. Like we didn't even have a telly when I was younger, and we learned instruments. That's just what like we did. And my older brother went on to create film scores and stuff for like films and also do music for games and stuff. So he's like super nerdy, and I'm really bad at reading music. Everything I do with drums is 90% of it is from ear. And when I was like 18 months, I used to sort of sit on my dad's lap. He had this basement in our house before my mum and dad separated. He had this basement in his house, and this midnight blue Tama Imperial star that was basically like a reflection of Simon Phillips' kit. It was like a late 80s Tama Imperial star, like it was massive. It was like 10 toms, two bass drums. It was just like, and I remember just like sitting on the floor, like looking up at my dad playing, and I was just like, yeah, that's you know that moment when you get handed those sticks for the first time, it just becomes part of you. Like it's almost like you hold the stick and it sort of sews itself into your veins. So when I sat on my dad's lap and he used to play drums, obviously I was too short to like reach the pedals, so he used to he used to do all the footwork for me. But I don't know if you girls are the same, but like straight away, I remember just going that, and he was like, "Oh my God!" Like I remember it so well. But he sadly passed away when I was 12, and he left me this kind of giant monster drum kit. So that's obviously it's condensed now because nobody will have us play any gigs if I bring that thing to a show. Uh, but yeah, it's my music and music and kids. It's yeah, that's everything.
So I know you from when you were on the radio.
Yeah, back in the day.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into that, firstly?
Yeah. So where I live, sunny Southend-on-Sea, their council had, believe it or not, money left over from their annual budget. So what they decided to do was invest it into under 18s trying to make a difference to their community. And my mum was friends with somebody in a council, and she said, "Look, if you do this presentation to them, they'll give you some money, and you can do something with it." And I was like, "I wonder what I can do." And this was in the kind of like 2006, 2007. And so my dad died in 2003, so I was still kind of going through the very early process of that grieving, those grieving stages. And I thought I'd really like to do something for him. And then I thought, what if I did like a compilation album of bands from Southend that didn't have the money to get themselves on a CD? Because obviously back then it was still CDs just. So the idea was that I would get 500 copies printed, distribute them equally between the bands so that they could give them out at their gigs and say, "Oh, my band's track 12 or my band's track 8 or whatever." Um, and then it happened. I managed to get a grant. It wasn't for much. It was like for 1,800 quid or something. But I paid somebody to have all the tracks mastered so that they all sounded the same. Got a photographer to do like front cover, and ultimately kind of dedicated that to my dad. And prior to that, when I was 13 or 14, I helped put on two annual events in memory of my dad as well to raise money for the hospital he was treated at. So I'd done those kind of events, and I'd seen how this kind of music community had come together for my dad, and I wanted to sort of give something back. Anyway, it got loads of press attention because I was only like 15, 16 at the time. And BBC Essex asked for an interview. So I went up with my friend who had also been given some money from the council to set up a live music night and get his own sort of speakers and PA and stuff. And the then acting editor of BBC Essex phoned into the show that I was on live, and he was like, "You sound really confident. Do you want a job?" And I was like, "What? Like this is crazy. Like this kind of stuff doesn't happen." Like I'd I didn't. I always wanted to be a drummer, but this was just like another avenue to still do music. And it was amazing. And I did that for 13 years. And then I ended up presenting on Radio 1 and the World Service and One Extra. And it was a lot of fun. But there's nothing that scratches that itch like either drumming or being involved in drums. And I think kind of like for a while I was like, yeah, I'm working in music. This is cool. But like also I didn't want to like introduce ASAP Rocky or play D Block Europe. Like that's just not who I am. Like I still listen to Genesis and Pink Floyd. Like I'm a kind of a bit of an old soul in I'd say a young person's body. I'm gonna be 35 next month. But yeah, that's sort of my background.
And so then how did you transition to doing what you're doing now, which is you're doing the UK Drum Show, you're doing the Europe Drum Show, you're working for Drummers Review. Yes, this is a massive step. How did that happen?
So in 2020, during the pandemic, um, my son was born and he was really, really unwell. And I had to basically live in a hospital in London for several months at the height of the pandemic. And it was during that time I had a massive kind of epiphany, and I was like, I want to do something else. And I started my own podcast on Spotify, which did really well. It got into the top 10% of most shared programs. It was a rock and metal program, and having worked at the BBC, obviously, I met a lot of people in bands and went to a lot of shows. So I was sort of I'd networked as much as I kind of possibly could. So Padge, who is the guitarist for Bullet for My Valentine, he's a really good friend of mine. And I said, Padge, like, I've got this idea. Would you like be on the first show? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So he like came on, and it just kind of blew up really. Like it did really well. But I've always had, like a lot of people don't know, I always had a day job. The BBC thing was not ever it was never a full-time gig. It was, I would do my 9 to 5 in an office job, and I would then go to London to do something on Radio 1, like whether it's really late at night or really early in the morning, get a taxi back, pick up my car from where I'd left it at my day job, drive back, get an hour's sleep. And I did that for nearly 20 years. Did like side hustling and stuff. So it was only so I know that, you know, everyone who's got a day job, I know the struggle. Like I did it for so long. And then Darby Todd, who is a very good friend of mine, drummer for Devon Townsend, he texts me one day and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be at the UK Drum Show. Are you going to be there?" And I was like, What's the UK Drum Show? Like, why haven't I heard of this? Like, why have I not opened my window? What's going on outside?" And he said, "Oh, you should come down." So I emailed Neil, who, by the way, an absolute legend, who is the organizer for both the UK and the Europe Drum Show. And I said, "Look, this is my background. I've hosted Reading and Leeds. I've done loads of music events. Like drumming is my world. I want to come down and you know and have some involvement." And he said, "Well, we're actually looking for a main stage host. Do you want to do it?" So I came down. He was very kind about my presenting, and there was a lot of positive feedback. And he asked me on the Sunday if I'd come back next year. So that was really great. And then, like, we did the UK Drum Show official podcast, and then that got into the top 15% of most watched videos on Spotify, which was incredible. And it kind of got to a point where I was juggling my day job and I was doing all these things with Neil, and I I was like, this is becoming too much now. Like I can't, you know. And he phoned me one morning as I was driving into work, and I was like, when you're just like driving to something, you just can't be bothered. And I was like, I really just need like a break. Like I need something to just happen. And he was like, "Look, I've been thinking about this. You need to come and work for me full time." And I was like, "Absolutely brilliant, amazing." And then I got into work. I didn't do any work for like an hour. I just wrote up loads of different variations of my resignation letter to be like, "Yeah, I can finally." But yeah, so that was it really. But Neil has been like the most supportive person. In my life, there's been about 2 or 3 people that have really taken a gamble with me. Lots of, you get that in life, don't you? You get people that believe in you. Somebody gives you a golden ticket and you go, "Oh my God, like, I made this connection or made this friend." And Neil is one of them. And yeah, like since joining Drummers Review, oh my, like it just hasn't stopped. It's been so busy, been like hanging around backstage with like John Otto. Like my girlfriend was standing shoulder to shoulder with Fred Durst backstage at a Limp Bizkit show. Like it's just, it's been incredible. Like just and the drumming community, sorry, I know I'm giving like a massive monologue here, but the drumming community, like it's so special. It's so, because does this happen? Where else do people just, I went into Mike Mangini's DMs on Instagram and I was like, "Can I interview you?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." You don't get that in the guitar world. You don't get that in like the keyboard world. Well, actually, I say that like Jordan Rudess is a really good friend, so I probably shouldn't have said that. But usually 9 times out of 10 you don't. And this community is so special. We all like look after each other, and we egg each other on. Like people in, Kira, when I saw you doing your thing at the drum show a couple of years ago, like people just like, "Yeah, like she's amazing, she's great." And it's like nobody wanted you to make a mistake. Everyone was in your corner, like, "Yeah, that feel, that groove was so," so yeah, that I sort of went off on a bit of a tangent there. I don't really know how I ended there, but yeah.
It's lovely. It was really, really good to hear. Leading on from that, can you pick, this might be a bit hard, but can you pick a favorite drummer that you've interviewed? Like, doesn't have to be their drumming, but who's been your favorite to actually speak to?
It's really hard. It's hard because there are 2 types of drummers. You get drummers who are focused artists, like just super into it. They are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's why they're successful. But then you get drummers who are, "When are we going for a beer? should we go for a beer? When are we going to go for a beer? That, they're two very different types of people. I've had a lot of fun with. I mean, Nick Collins is always he's always really good fun. Like, I'm sure he won't mind me saying he had quite a few beers after last year's UK drum show, and it's like he's just so funny. He's so easygoing, and like the man's dad is arguably the most famous drummer in the world, and he's still not given me Phil's credit card details. No, I'm joking. And but he's so humble. He's lovely. But then you meet other people like, for example, John Otto. Like the man sold 30 million albums, and he's just so super cool and chilled. And so it's really. I use Gavin Harrison's toilet. Like I so that was that was fun. I don't know. There's so many to choose from, and I learn something new from everyone I do. So, but Derby Todd is really funny as well. I can't choose. I'm sorry.
Have you got one drummer that you would still like to interview who you haven't spoken to yet?
I mean, there's a lot. Chad Smith, Lars Ulrich. They would be really cool to get on. Um, Portnoy. Um, yeah, they're three that I think would be good. But in saying that, I know that straight after we finish recording, I'm going to go, why didn't I say him or why didn't I say her? Like, so, yeah, they're just kind of three that come to mind.
So let's talk about influences for you
Okay.
as a drummer. Your dad played drums. He must have been the first person, I'm guessing, to say, "Here, son, have a go on the drums." Tell us more about that.
Um, I always used to like to go to my dad's band practices. I preferred doing that than anything else. I'd just like sit on a chair and just watch him jam. And I'm sure you two have got your sort of very early memories of drums as well. But when you see someone who you love doing something they love, it just nothing beats it. And I used to look up at like my dad playing drums on this, like his drums were always in such immaculate condition. They were so looked after, and you turn just a house light off, and there'd be beam like the light would be reflecting off the cymbals and the rims and the lugs and everything. And it was, and I just remember watching him, and I would always wait for the bands to like go and have like a 5 minute break and go outside for a cigarette or whatever. And my dad would be like, go on in, go on in. But he would ask one of his mates to like, oh, can you stay on the guitar so he can have a little jam? And yeah, that was, I mean, he's definitely my biggest influences, but also like uh Simon Phillips is definitely up there for me. His precision and flair is unmatched, I think, in a lot of ways. Like I love how he's so fluid, but he's so like on the beat. From a more theatrical and uh, uh, showman point of view, like of course Mike Portnoy's up there. He's single-handedly kind of taken that baton from Neil, and he is, I think, now like the new godfather of modern prog rock. Um, God, there's so many. I mean, John Bonham. I've got John Bonham's logo tattooed on my leg. I don't know why I didn't even think of that. So John Bonham was like the first drummer who I really got into, like learned all about what drums he used, how he tuned his like heads, and all that geeky stuff. Yeah, I think those three. Oh, and also Ray Hearn from Haken. Oh my God, like he's the most phenomenal player ever. Um, but yeah, I think those four pretty inspiring.
So your dad influenced your drumming. Would you say that he influenced how you are as a parent?
It's a very that's an incredibly deep-rooted question, and one that I had not considered. And even after 22 years of him not being here, I still find myself on a daily basis like thinking, what would he say about this? I'm I hope that my children feel the same love that I felt from my dad. My dad was really, really shy. And the only thing he could ever do to express himself was to play. It was like he was very timid. He's like literally the opposite of me. He had a much better hairline than me. He was much slimmer. He was very shy, but like he got behind the kit, and that was kind of him. Whereas I'm a bit more rotund, and no, but yeah, I suppose you want your kids to just like you're not their mate, you're their parent. And sometimes you got to find a fine line between that. But I also felt like my dad was my best mate as well. But I never got to experience the kind of teen years, and never got to experience him like seeing me pass my driving test or watching me play many gigs. Like he came and saw me play. Like I was part of the school orchestra and stuff at school. Like everyone else was reading sheet music, I was just pretending, just learning everything by ear. But I played like a theatre once in front of a couple of thousand people, and he was like, "Oh, Oliver, that was so good. I've never played there. That's bigger than anywhere I've ever played." But just I think when you lose a parent, you fill that hole by distributing love that you no longer have access to. So for me, it's like I try and give my kids like loads of love because I know what it is like not to have that. If that makes sense. We get the violin out. Um,
What do you
No,
think he'd
honestly,
make?
Be careful, because
Yeah.
I will. I'll start crying immediately.
What do you think he'd make of you and all of your success?
hope I hope he would be proud. Um, I've done I've done a lot for him in his memory. So he also played piano, and just before he died, he wrote this song and he called it Hope. And I then named my daughter Hope to close that circle, because was that kind of just felt really appropriate. Um, so I hope that he, uh, you know, if he is, without getting into religion or spirituality, which seems to be very very much dividing the world at the moment, but I hope that if there is even a like a 1% chance that he's able to see what's going on, I'm sure he'll be able to hear the UK drum show from where he is, because it's a pretty bloody loud event. Yeah, I hope he'd just be happy. I mean, my mum obviously like my mum's like this kind of 21st century hippie who's a therapist, and she'll go like, "Oh, darling, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She'll, "No, darling, how are you? Let's talk about this. You look a bit tired. Are you getting enough sleep?" I'm like, "Mum, yeah, I look tired because you're phoning me at 6:30 in the morning. Like that's why I look tired." But she's like, yeah, she's like supportive, and she's very proud, and yeah, so it's like I suffered a lot of childhood trauma, because my dad died when I was 12. Mum then remarried, and then he died as well. So yeah, he was a fisherman, and he literally went to work one day, didn't come back, and then 9 months later his body washed up on a beach in Essex. So I've definitely faced a lot of battles, but like music has been honestly like my medication, and its drumming has just got me through like so much. I don't know where I'd be without drumming and without drums and without this community. It's such an amazing place and space.
Your kids have access to music in the same way that you did with your dad. Do you show them what you do?
Yeah, my my daughter is very much like, she's 7, and she's just everything's got to be like K-pop Demon Hunters, and everything's got to be like crafting and art, and she's really into that. And I never want to be one of those parents that push their kids to do music just because I love it. If they were happy being a photographer, or if they were happy being an actor, or as long as they've got something that, we all work so hard, and that creative outlet is our vice, isn't it? We get behind you've had a stressful day, and you groove, like you feel better after 10 minutes of playing drums than, for me personally, like than anything else. Um, yeah, they do have access to it, but I'm not going to push them, because I think that could deter them. So that's, yeah. As long as I have access to something, I will, and I'll always try and like find out, like even if like my daughter got into ballet or something, I'll be the first person on ChatGPT, like tell me about ballet. What do I need to say to her so it sounds like that I know, I'm learning what she loves.
I want to ask you next about you and your career, and if there's anything that you want to do, if you've got any ambitions that you want to achieve.
despite like doing a lot on like Radio One and media and stuff like that, working with Neil and for Drummers Review and UK Drum Show and Europe Drum Show, it is without hesitation the best job I have ever had. Like, it's incredible. Um, I love video editing. I love filming. I love talking to drummers. And that is my job. I get to travel and meet these amazing people. Like a few weeks ago, I was up at little Caleb's house. I was sitting there with his mum and his dad, and we did an interview with him, and I watched him play drums and wanted to throw my sticks on the floor because I absolutely sucked compared to him. But it's just the best. It's just so fun. It's like I get to chat to great people like yourselves, and I honestly, like, if I did this job for the rest of my life, I'd be happy.
I want to know a little bit about how you became friends with Mr. Jordan Rudess from Dream Theatre.
Okay.
Selfishly, and for everyone listening, they all want to know too.
Well, I will just say that Jordan is the funniest, most lovely, most musical, charming man I have ever met. And I interviewed Jordan. I interviewed him a few years ago, and obviously, like, Dream Theater are like my favorite band. And he followed me back on Instagram. And you know when like somebody you really love follows you, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm gonna screenshot that and put it on my story and be like, ah! He followed me back, and he asked me, he said, oh, like he messaged me and he said, oh, great, like hooking up with you. Let me know when the interview goes out. I can't say what I replied with because it'll probably break your broadcasting standards in some way. But I went back with a very, very naughty joke. And it was one of those moments where I thought, like, it's a bit like Ricky Gervais. You either win, lose, or draw. You can make them laugh, you make them don't, or they're indifferent. So I thought I'm just going to go for it. So I said something completely outrageous to him in a response, and he laughed so much. He was like, "Take my number, like you're really funny," and then he is actually like probably for me the closest thing that I have to a father figure now. He messages me multiple times every day, asks if I'm doing okay. Like he does FaceTime with my kids. Um, he he's always like, "How are you getting on?" Like he's just lovely. Um, and Jordan is one of few musicians that I've met who's in such a success. I mean, he's a Grammy award-winning artist, and he he's just lovely. And I don't know, what, like, he just gives me like so many opportunities. Like he'll always like do me a little video if my band are playing in some like 40 capacity venue, like, come and check out this band, and like, or he'll always check in, and he's so open to meeting new people. A lot of artists, I think, they arrive in a city when they're on tour, and they just stay in the hotel room, and because they don't want to be seen by the riffraff. But Jordan's like, he'll go out into his hotel room, he'll sit down and buy fans a drink, he'll like mingle with them, and there's no ego. Like, I personally think Jordan is like a 21st century Chopin. I don't think there is any living keyboardist that does what he does better than him. He graduated from like Juilliard when he was 9 years old. Like that doesn't happen. And yeah, he's just amazing. He's lovely. He's funny, and he asked me to drum on one of his tracks at the beginning of the year. He was like, "Do you have access to record drums?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, can you learn this song and record it tomorrow, please?" And I was like, "Oh." So I had to text Darby because he's obviously got his own like studio set up for all his Devon Townsend stuff. And I was like, "Can I borrow your studio for a day, please?" And he was like, "Yeah, come up." So Darby recorded it all, and I used his Orange County kit, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, Jordan he's given me so many opportunities, and I've always said to him, like, I'd love to do something back for you. Like, I wish I could give you something. Like, do you want to come to Southend-on-Sea because I can get you some chips? Like that. That's basically it's basically all I can offer him. And he always comes back with, just be happy, just enjoy your life. And yeah, and he often messages me like a lot of things like that, a lot of very deep things, like, think about how, your presence in the world is so important, and he's very deep, but he's very funny and very cheeky. So yeah.
That sounds lovely. Sounds like the kind of friend everyone needs.
He's so cool, and he, like, even at NAM in January, he was doing a bit like on a stand in front of loads of people, and he was about to go on, and he went, "No, I'm not going on." And everyone was like, "Why?" And he went, "I'm not going on unless this man introduces me." And I was like, "Jordan, I've got nothing to say." And he says, "Just go up and make it up." And I was like, "Right, okay." So I got on stage and I was like, "This next artist paid me $15 to introduce him. It's Jordan Rudess," like that, and just everyone like really laughed. And he just said in my ear, "You're so cheeky." But yeah, he's very, yeah, he's I couldn't rate about him enough.
I wanted to ask you about imposter syndrome slash nerves when you're meeting people for the first time, when you're introducing them on, for the main stage. Have you ever experienced any nerves or anything like that? And how have you coped?
I think nerves are great. They're so fun. Like, do you girls get it when you're about to do a gig and you sit on the stall for just as the first song's starting, and you get those little, like, you get it in your tummy, and it's like, I love that. I wish that would last longer. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely. I've done like gigs, like emceeing and hosting for a very, very long time. So it feels very natural to be hosting these shows. Um, but like sometimes, for example, like I'll look at the name behind me and I'll be like, I'm introducing Kenny Aronoff. Like, oh my god, like this is huge. Or I mean, introducing like Chris Coleman, like, or Lena Anderberg. These amazing names. But no, I mean, I don't I don't think so. I don't really get nervous. I like the nerves, if that makes sense. Like, I love seeing like loads of people and having that little rush. It's good fun.
What can we expect from the UK drum show this year?
Fun, beer, and more fun. No, I'm joking. I mean, Neil has absolutely knocked it out the park with this lineup. To have Thomas Lang open your event is like, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. This year is bigger than ever, but obviously I'll probably be interviewed like next year, and I'll be going, this year's bigger than ever in 2027, but this year's bigger than ever. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, no, I'm joking. But this year is just going to be obviously like drum heaven. This weekend is my Christmas day. Like,
Same.
Yeah, Christmas pales into insignificance against the UK drum show. And the, what can we expect is the gathering. It's just the gathering, and that is the most important part. It's the hang. It's the supporting each other. It's sitting next to somebody in the auditorium you've never met before, and you leave at the end of the weekend being best friends or swapping numbers. That is the important part. The drumming community is the best. I don't care what anyone says. Hands down, drumming community, best community ever. And this year at the UK Drum Show, not only are we spoilt for choice with artists and education rooms and masterclasses, but we're also spoilt for choice because we can make so many great new friends.
We're
Couldn't
looking
have
forward
said
to
it
seeing
better.
you.
Yeah.
Counting down.
Counting down the hours, and
Yeah.
we're going to see us, both of us, attack you. That's
Yes,
what's going to
yeah.
happen.
Honestly, like, I speak to so many people, and they're like, "Oh, like, would it? I hope I can see you." I'm like, I want to see as many people as possible. I really do, because backstage is amazing, but sometimes it can be a bit lonely. Because like I have my girlfriend there who like takes like videos and stuff, and then by like a few hours in, she's like, "Can I just go into Liverpool High Street, please? Because I don't even know what a paradiddle is." So so but I just, yeah, I mean, I just love meeting people and hanging, and yeah, I like drumming. It's like a tribal thing, isn't it? It comes from everyone doing it in a group, and I think that almost our primitive nature is to still continue to do that. You can never have enough drummers in a room. Well, you can, but not in this not in this instance. But yeah, I'm just so excited.
I feel like you're the perfect person to be introducing all of the acts, because the joy and the energy and everything about you, I feel like, is just how people feel about drums. It's just like you're the perfect person to introduce it all.
Stop it. You hang up. No, you hang up. Stop it. Thank you. That genuinely means a lot, because this is the gig that is most important to me. And I love to, as you can probably tell, like, I love to talk, but I love drums as well. And mixing the two is the best. And how cool that, like, for a whole weekend we get to hang out with other drummers. Like, it's just the best.
Yeah.
It's just so exciting. Like, I love walking onto that stage a Saturday morning, like going onto the main stage, seeing loads of people. Like, they've already bought their sticks. They're like wearing like drum merchandise. Like, they're all ready to go. It's like, this is amazing. This is what it should be. And also, like, people walking around with their practice pads, and I've just learned this new rudiment, because it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to be a pro to go to these events. You can be a beginner. And also, a beginner doesn't mean a kid. You can be a beginner in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It doesn't matter. It's never too late to pick up the sticks, never too late to sit behind a kit. And I am a huge believer that we've all got our own internal metronome, so we can all drum if we want to. The heartbeat is the metronome of life. And if you follow that, you can definitely get behind a kit and play.
Amen.
We will be there kicking it all off with you at 9:45 on Saturday morning with Thomas Lang.
Going to be loud. I hope no one's got a hangover that day, because honestly, you're going to feel even worse after he's played.
Thanks for listening to the Drummer Mamas podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave us a 5-star rating, because it makes us more visible to other listeners. And we really do appreciate any comments or reviews. It makes a difference. Thanks again, and see you next time.